I'm Will McLemore, president of McLemore Auction Company, and we have some really great fine art in our November 2010 auction. I've asked Katie Patterson, a longtime auction associate with us, to come and tell me more about these works.
Yeah, well, what we're going to be talking about today is this work itself, which is an original pastel, along with a lithograph, a serigraph, and an artist proof, and a little bit about those processes as well.
Wonderful.
This work actually itself was done by an artist named Otto Walter Beck, who was born of German immigrants in Dayton, Ohio in 1864. He actually received a seat in the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Munich, in Germany, and went on to study the old masters throughout Europe from 1886 to 1892, which is fascinating. His subject matters are, sometimes figural. He does marine life, and he also did a series of Civil War portraits, which actually hang in the Smithsonian and the National Museum today. Yes. It's typical, actually, of this artist to create his pastels on paper and then mount them onto the board. Actually, this artist, there are very few of his works in trade right now in the marketplace, especially ones with religious content. This is the story of Christ and Nicodemus, which is told in John chapter 3 of the New Testament. We don't actually know a date on this one, but we can tell that the frame is circa 1880s, and it's gilded with plaster detailing, and it has folk art style carvings of fauna and angels along the side, as well as a plaque with the artist's name and the title of the work. And this piece itself actually was appraised by Leonard Aronson of Aronson Fine Art here in Nashville in August 2006 for $8,250.
Wow.
Yeah, and actually it will sell in our auction with no reserves to the highest bidder, and it will be a great addition to anybody's collection at home.
I should think so.
Yeah. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the next best thing. If you're unable to buy an original or can't come across one because they're fairly rare, the next best thing to buy would be a lithograph or serigraph print. And I have a couple examples of those, and we'll go through the process of them. So if you'll help me with this.
Sure.
And I'll get the next one.
I haven't gotten to move pretty pictures around since I worked at Sotheby's.
Well, okay, so this one is a lithograph.
This is also in our November auction, right?
Yes, this is also in our November auction, and this is actually just one of 3 pieces done by this artist that are in our November auction. The lithograph process was actually invented in 1798 in Germany, and it was actually the next best step in the printmaking process since relief printing since the 15th century. So people have been doing this for a while. The process of lithograph is the artist will start by drawing the exact design onto a slab of marble or prepared metal with a greasy crayon. So the artist is actually drawing themselves the design by hand. So the slabs are just as important as the original artwork itself. The next step in the process is to make a chemical mixture of gum arabic and nitric acid to wash across the slab to keep the design from spreading. After that, because the lithographic process is basically based on the natural opposition of grease and water, the stone is then dampened. That way, when the ink is rolled over the stone, the ink only sticks to the greasy parts of the slab.
I see.
Yes. So after that, the artist will then, of course, take his or her piece of paper, stamp it onto the design, and pull it up, and you'll have that design right there. Which basically would be the fundamental part of these black lines right here. Now, to create a color lithograph, there has to be a separate slab made for each color.
Oh, wow.
And sometimes you'll see hand-colored lithographs, which tend to be more valuable. This one, in particular, the artist has chosen to make several different slabs for the colors. And what happens here is you get this like washy, almost watercolor-like tint to the whole painting itself. And this atmospheric effect is typically used for landscapes or topographical illustrations, as you can see. And if you look closely along the edges, you can actually see where each plate has been laid.
I see.
Yeah.
Getting them to line up must be difficult.
It is. And, that's one of the things that make lithographs so important is that every one it can be slightly different. So when you get a limited edition lithograph such as this one, every single one is unique.
Katie, can you tell me a little more about the artist that made this print?
Yeah, his name is Antonio Rivera. He was born in Spain, and his style actually is influenced by his childhood memories of Catalonia and sort of a mix between his surreal vision of the French countryside. And we actually have 3 different pieces by this artist in this sale, all coming from the collection of William and Ruth Harris, formerly of Washington, D.C. And this one features a house and a little landscape, and the other 2 are just, landscapes themselves. But I love his style, and I think it would be a great addition to anybody's home. Again, selling without reserve in our auction.
Great.
The next type of print that I'm going to show you is a serograph, which is also very interesting, and it has a process as well, and I'll talk a little bit about that.
Great.
If you could help me this one.
I'll grab it.
And this next one's kind of heavy, so I might need your help.
Okay.